Okay, so finally, I'd like to introduce the distinguished chair of the study group, Professor Manuela Veloso. She's professor of computer science at Carnegie Mellon, the president of the International RoboCup Federation, and a fellow of the American Association for Artificial Intelligence. Thank you, Dr. Veloso.
Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about this HRI concept, this human-robot interaction concept. So a lot of these human-robot interaction research is broad, and we tried in this study to be focused on our objectives on robots in indoor environments. So we were expecting to see robots that interact with people inside, not cars autonomous outside. And we were thinking about this problem of if robots would service a single person, which would be like a robot that would be like your companion, not necessarily the same, a companion, an assistant, a work study, versus, for example, robots that would service multiple people. So a tour guide, an entertainment, or give a lecture and a demo, or a robot receptionist, all sorts of. So we try to focus this study along this service problem. And then another area of the study that you are going to see us presenting about has to do with is helping persons with limitations. So the cognitive limitations or cognitive modeling of people in order to build better robots that would service people, and physical disabilities, and all sorts of health care. You are going to see that these were our objectives, and we turned them a little bit around depending on what we saw, but healthcare, providing healthcare and robots helping with healthcare. So human-robot interaction, actually, even listening to the previous talk, I was already, how do you say, it fascinates me, and even more, that it's actually a very, very interesting field that includes how people and how robots and people are interacting. But I just want you to understand that our study is focused on these two areas. In some sense, these kind of guided our objectives. You are going to see at the end that it's not that became just this, but that's how we started. Like the panel team was introduced, but I just want to make sure that you understand that the reason why we are all here is because we kind of cover these objectives. And in your handouts, and we actually presented these for all the places we visited, we made an effort to present ourselves along these dimensions. So, for example, each one of us has expertise in the field. So I have been doing research on AI and at Carnegie Mellon, and I have been working a lot on these multi-robot. And also, even now, my research is on multi-robot, multi-human interactions. So I have multiple of the same robots and try to have this more than one robot planned for tasks. And then Mindy Eisen, she actually is a remarkable person in terms of her experience with having technology help with deficiency or with disability. And he is this expert on all sorts of human limitations and how technology can help. And it was a pleasure to have her in the group. And then Ayanna Howard actually has a very interesting focus on trying to understand how robots also in the home environment can assist these humans to learn better. And she has been doing like a lot of like child therapy and rehabilitation and telepresence for individuals with visual impairments. And it was also, so Mindy and Ayanna understands a lot about these attention to the disabled and to children and to service, Ayanna in particular. And then Chad Jenkins from Brown University comes with experience on a lot of what we call this learning from demonstration, in which the human provides guidance to this robot in all sorts of different infrastructure frame on how to perform tasks. And when these and Chad embracing this concept of humans teaching robots embraces now a lot about web-based robotics, because eventually this crowdsourcing for the robots will enable them also to to move up in how much they can do, and also making things and components in a way that other people can use. So again, this component that Chad brought to the panel on having these be available beyond your own lab and be available to humans relate with robots at that large scale level. Then Bilge Mutlu from Wisconsin is actually brings again to the panel these directions in which you can understand the social norms of these interactions. So what is right to do? How does the robot interact with the person in the right way? So how do these robots have human-like behavior? And all sorts of trying to understand also these brain-robot interfaces. And all of us have all these beautiful robots, and Bilge was very instrumental in understanding these social aspect of the robots. And then finally, last but not least, Brian Scaselati from Yale University has been focused in recent years a lot on these autism problem, on children with autism, and how these these brain disabilities and how this robot technology can help these the limited people, these disabled people, cognitive disabled people, move on. But Brian is actually someone with experience in this cognitive aspect, and the human cognitive, and how does that transfer to the robots, and what is this concept of having robots that can use cognitive models of people to actually be better at this interaction with humans. So we all have this passion about robots. In this panel, one thing that I try to have is that though we care about humans, we all have experience with the actual machines. So we are all engineers one way or another. We all have built our own robots. Some of us came from real just robot backgrounds, and then we became more interested in the interaction with humans. So that's also something that was characteristic of our panel. The reason why let me just finish by showing Ted. So Ted actually joined the panel, and he was with us all the time. And Ted has an enormous experience also in all sorts of technology, sensory, environmental adaptation for people with disabilities, and Ted has embraced these robotics applications and tele rehabilitation and brain-computer interfaces very much so. So the reason why I spent some time here just talking a little bit about this team is that in this study, in some sense, the report that will going to come out is indeed a function of what we saw in Asia, but it's a function of what you saw through our eyes. And somehow it will have our own interpretation of what we saw, and that is part of what the report is going to be, because it was the seven of us, 6 plus Ted, that actually went through all these sites. So it helps to understand a little bit of who we are before I tell you about the others. Okay? So let me just, now that you know a little bit who was in this study and why we were in this study, let me go and delve into giving you an overview of what we actually visited and what we actually were exposed to, which is going to be followed by each one of the panelists going in much further detail about the sites and the essence of the sites. But let me just explain to you what happened. So we did have Japan with 17 sites, and it was it's a country that many of us have known the research reasonably well for a while, because Japan has such a strong presence in robotics for so many years. And so it was a pleasure to actually visit all these sites, and we'll tell you about these. And then Korea, South Korea, we also know the South Korea also has a strong presence, but more limited. And we visited 5 sites, if I'm correct. And then in China, China was a very different place to go to, because what we did was actually we under the suggestion of WTech from past studies, we decided that instead of flying